薄いのアホ。
プリズムパワーメイクアップカードレディー。
Welcome to Shojo Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, March 30th, 2024, we'll be shoujo and telling about the first half of the series Hot Gimmick by Miki Aihara. So that's going to be volumes 1 through 6. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined by Naja B of Blerdy Otome. Hi, Naja. Hi! Oh my goodness.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Yes, oh my goodness. I've been trying to do Hot Gimmick for like a hot minute. Okay.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But then I was like, I need to do Hot Gimmick. And I went on, our Lord and Savior Google, I guess.
Not Google.
Not Google. Definitely not Google. But then your review came up and I was like, Naja is positive towards Hot Gimmick. This is the perspective that I need. But before we get into that, Naja, would you like to say more about yourself?
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing about the positive about Hot Gimmick.
Something nice about Hot Gimmick publicly on the internet. So we're going to continue this trend.
I did. I admit to it. The internet doesn't lie often. But me, my name is Naja B. I go by Blerdy or Blerdy Otome on the interwebs. I run the gaming site Blerdy Otome, where I write about otome games, indie visual novels, BL, josei muke, manga, anime occasionally, just a lot of stuff. All the nerdy things that catch my eye. I also stream on Twitch, where I play pretty much the same games that I listed. It's a bit more unhinged and chaotic than my reviews are most days, so definitely come through for that, because you get my raw, unfiltered thoughts on stuff, and it's unhinged. That's the best way to put it. Just it's unhinged. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
That's you.
Show.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was like, I had been aware of your stuff for a while, so I was like, all right, I trust Naja to come on and say some cohesive thoughts about Hot Gimmick.
I'll try. I don't know how cohesive the thoughts will be, but I will try.
Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna
make it happen.
Okay, so this first little section that we're gonna do is gonna be spoiler free. So in 10 to 20 minutes, I'll give a spoiler warning for when we get into the real nitty gritty of the series. But also, we are only talking about the first half of the series. So what's a spoiler in that case? I don't know. That's up to you.
Think.
Yes. All right. So we've already made several jokes about the Hot Gimmick. But Naja, would you like to explain to the people who may be the uninitiated and maybe even reinitiate the initiated, what is Hot Gimmick about?
Wow. So I am absolutely terrible at describing things like a real person. So I'm going to do my best.
I want to hear what comes out then.
Oh, Lord. Hot Gimmick is the messiest, grimiest, just trashiest shoujo of its time. It was written in between 2000 and 2005, I think, which was like peak shoujo trash, just toxic relationships, terrible heroines, absolute terrible boyfriends. I had to think of the word, the PG word.
Yeah, the PG word. It's hard. It's going to be hard to keep this PG, y'all.
Like, what is the PG word? But and out of that mire came Hot Gimmick by Miki Aihara. And it's about, I'm going to look at the back of the book because I have it in front of me, and that is smart.
Let's get the official publisher description before we get into what it's really about.
It also doesn't describe anything on the back of the book because these are the Viz Big editions and they didn't want to help us out in any way. So in the cover, it says, unlike most shoujo, Hot Gimmick isn't all sweet boys and rose petals. It's much more real and complex and sometimes even chilling. Messy is the word I would replace that with.
Oh my gosh, I actually kind of agree with that assessment, but only this second time. We're gonna get into it.
Wow, this is written by this little blurb was written by Tanya Del Rio, writer and artist of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Okay.
Viz, what were we on?
What
How
were
did
we
you,
doing? What were we
why?
doing?
Yeah, how did we get that? That's weird. It's the back of the book says Miki Aihara turned the manga world upside down with her salacious, outrageous, and funny hit series. I don't know about funny. If you think being a teenager in America is hard, wait until you read Hot Gimmick. These Tokyo boys and girls are really
Don't
messed
make this
up.
about Japanese people, Viz. Like, don't throw them under the bus. This is all teenagers.
God.
Like, give me a break.
Jason Thompson, author of Manga The Complete Guide, said, Hot Gimmick is an incredible page turner, the manga equivalent of a bodice ripper novel. Okay, I'll give him credit for that one. Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm following along. Yeah, I get it.
That's accurate, fair. But essentially, Hot Gimmick is about a teenage girl named Hatsumi. Cannot remember the girl's last name, sorry.
Narita.
But she lives in this housing complex that's kind of run by like her dad's business or the company he works for. And there's this hierarchy to the housing complex that carries over from the office with the like director's family at the top, and everybody else just like kisses up to that family so that their lives aren't miserable. Yeah. And like the director's family, they have a son named Ryoki, and he's a spoiled rich boy. That's the best way to describe him, spoiler free. And he and Hatsumi were friends when they were children, but there was an incident that happened that absolutely terrified her about this. But he's a butt. He's a terrible human being. So she avoids him because she's terrified of him. And now that they're all grown up, she does her best to avoid him because she's terrified. And he may or may not have realistic romantic feelings for her. And he just is very incapable of showing how best to love another human being or anyone ever, or just show, human compassion or kindness, or I don't know, just be a person. But one day, Hatsumi's sister, Akane, she is, how does one say this nicely? She is a girl of the world. She's in middle school. And she's very adventurous, and she's very, I don't want to say loose because, I mean, she is, but like, I don't want to.
It is hard not to, go into the language of the manga. That's very shaming about her.
Yes,
but it's like, she's equivalent of a freshman in high school over here.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And she's in her third year. And
she's really good. Like, she's really cute. She's really attractive. She's flirty with boys. She's been out with a lot of boys. She sleeps around.
Yeah.
And
she's like, sex is fun. And that's.
Yeah, she's just out here living her best life. Hatsumi, being the oldest sister, is literally just not living her best life. As an older sibling, I get it. You're the responsible one. You don't get to have fun. So Kane comes to her responsible big sister, Hatsumi, and she's like, big sister, my period is late. And she's like, Nani? And she's like, my period's late. I need you to go to the drugstore and get me a pregnancy test. And Hatsumi is like, I can't possibly go to the 7-Eleven to get you a pregnancy test. No. And she's like, please, mom and dad will kill me. You have to go do it. And she's like,
before you could just order anything on the internet and have it shipped the next day.
No DoorDash, no Uber Eats, no none of that. Just you had to walk to the 7-Eleven in shame and go pick up your stuff.
Yeah.
Like a champ. So she's like 14. So of course she's like, okay, I'm not going to make my little sister do this. I'll go. So she goes to the store to get the pregnancy test. On her way back, she runs into Ryoki and she drops the bag with the pregnancy test in it. He sees the pregnancy test and he's like, oh, I didn't know you was like that. Let me look at you again. Come here. And she's like, no, it's not for me. It's for my sister.
And he's like, that's worse. You shouldn't have said that.
Exactly. He's literally like, wow, that's even worse. What if I tell my mommy, who runs this entire complex, about this? Then your family will be out on the street because loose morals. And she's like, no, please don't tell your mommy about this stupid thing that my sister did. I'd have threw my sister under the bus. I don't have a sister, but I would have thrown her under the bus. And she's like, I'll do anything, Ryoki-sama. Just please don't do it. He's like, anything. And she's like, anything. And it's not even in a fun, like, sexy way. It's more of a, please God, don't tell them. I can't ruin my family's life. Like, she's crying. She thinks it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And Ryoki goes, all right, I'll keep your secret. I won't tell nobody. But you have to be my slave. And she's like, huh? And he's like, you heard me. I ain't stutter. Slave. I will do with as I see fit. If I call you out, you come see me. No waiting, no hesitating. If I want to touch you, you let me touch you. No complaints, no nothing. He's like, you know, I need to get some practice because, you know, I've never had experience with a woman before and I can use you as a toy to practice with. And she's like, you're joking, right? And he's like, do I look like I'm joking? He like pushes his glasses up a bit and they kind of glint in the
He gets
sunlight.
real Magane about it, yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's terrible. And she's like, you're joking. And he's like, why the hell would I joke about this? I'm so serious. You're going to be my slave. And she's like, sure. So she goes home and her sister, her period came. So she didn't need the test after all. It was a waste of everybody's time. And now she is indebted to Ryoki. And Ryoki comes calling for her servitude. And he pretty much uses that as a means to just do whatever he wants with her. And when I say whatever he wants with her, I mean exactly what I say. He
tries.
He tries, and he does.
And that's it doesn't get better from here. Like I think like that's the impetus of Hot Gimmick. It doesn't get better from there.
No, it doesn't.
It only gets worse in many
constantly.
ways. Oh my goodness.
God. Hot Gimmick.
So Hot Gimmick is a hot mess.
Absolutely.
I used to joke that it was hot trash, but all right.
It's both. It's both.
It's both. Por qué
like
no los dos?
It's like the trashiest soap opera and telenovela just like wrapped up together and deep fried. It's like you just go, they just threw everything and the kitchen sink in here, and it's like crazy because you've also got like a hot guy who's actually, I can't even say it. Like I'm trying to say better than Ryoki, but like I know
He's
stuff.
Not.
So I'm like, he's not. So like even trying to say that just is horrible.
Like he should be, but he's not.
He appears to be better. Named Azusa. He's like a model. And he's also a childhood friend of Hatsume's and Ryoki. Ryoki hates him. Actually, he's the reason why Hatsumi is terrified of Ryoki because Ryoki's a jealous little butt and he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions like a real person. So Azusa shows up and he starts showing an interest in Hatsumi too. And she's always had a crush on him. So she's like in love with him and she wants to be with him. And Ryoki doesn't like his toy being with someone else. So he goes out of his way to just be a jerk about it. And then let's not forget Hatsumi's brother.
Yeah, I was like, should we just establish all of the players? I guess so.
Shinogu.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait till we get to part 2.
I know.
I got thoughts. I got so many thoughts about the second half of the series and Shinogu.
Yes.
He's her sweet, lovable Oni-san. He is always there to protect her and love her and just be a supportive person for her through all of life's ups and downs. He is just the sweetest. I feel like somebody's like holding like something to my head as I say this. Like, you gotta talk nice about Shinogu. Be nice about Shinogu. He's her brother. That's pretty much it. And he's kind of a supporting character throughout the story. He really, 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 really loves his little sister.
Who he may or may not be blood related.
Yes.
But again, we're going to get into it. Okay. So that's the hot start of Hot Gimmick. But so taking a step back, I want to frame people like our familiarity with this series. How much of an expert are we on this? And unfortunately, we might actually both be pretty well versed in the Hot Gimmick. So unfortunately for us.
Yeah.
For my brain.
We read it. Yeah, we read it so you don't have to.
I read it twice so you don't have to. That's right.
I read it at least once every other year.
Oh my goodness. Twice. Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
Just to remind myself.
All right. Well, so for me, yeah, I feel like oh my God, this came out initially 20 years ago in America, as far as I can tell, in 2004. And I've always been aware of it because I was a freshman in high school in 2004. And I remember seeing all the covers, and it's very stylistic, right? Like they look really cool, like not a typical shoujo kind of thing, more like I don't know, like street art. Yeah, like
a magazine or something.
Yeah, very, very fashionable. I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. But I didn't read it in high school. And I didn't read it in college. But immediately after college, I had, all these stints where like I didn't have a full-time job. I wasn't really making money. And I was like, I want to go back and like read and watch certain shoujo manga and anime that like I've always heard about, but I didn't read before. I got time now. I got time to kill. So the library had Hot Gimmick. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go read Hot Gimmick. I didn't know what it was about at all. And I was not prepared. I think
nobody's prepared for Hot Gimmick.
Nobody's ever fully prepared for Hot Gimmick. Yeah,
no.
Unless you've read it already. In which case,
even then,
yeah, like you're already messed up because you weren't prepared the first time. But yeah, so I read it and I was like, what? I hated it so much. Like I came into this recording being like, again, not having reread it this time. I was like, this is going to be my most hated shoujo manga. Like, I think that's true. I will never find anything nice to say about Hot Gimmick. But now this time I'm reading it and I'm like, no, wait a minute. I see, like, it's trash.
I see the vision.
Yeah. Like, it is trash and all the things that they do are deplorable. I want to be clear here, okay? Yeah, no. But like,
do not try this at home.
Do not try this at home. There are many PSAs within the manga that try to be like, children don't do this.
Yeah, no, there should be like right at the top of every page should be a don't do this at home,
don't do this. This is not acceptable. Consent is sexy, not this, okay?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that because there's literally a panel in my copy of volume 2, which is like 4, 5, and 6, volumes 4, 5, and 6, that literally mentioned consent. And I was like, I gotta bring this up. I'm gonna make sure I put a pin here.
I know, yeah. They definitely bring up the idea of consent at a point, and you're like, oh, so you do know what that is. That's good. I don't see it in your actions ever, but that's okay.
They are aware that she exists, but they've never tried to be friends with her.
Yes. So that's, I want to be clear about that, right? But so reading it this time, I was like, but wait a minute, Ashley, wait a minute. Are you going to say that your friends and you like didn't do kind of some of these stupid things in high school? Like there's a very high schoolness about it, right? Like some of it is like, okay, I see that high schoolers just do dumb stuff like this, right? At least in the early 2000s. We didn't.
I will agree.
We didn't have COVID pandemic yet or whatever.
No, that is one thing I will give Hot Gimmick. You brought up a good point.
Yeah.
This is an accurate depiction of dumb high school student decisions. Like the frontal lobe is not fully formed. You are not making informed decisions. You are doing things that adults you would probably be like, I can't believe I did that. I would cringe. You're saying things, you're accepting things in relationships that are huge red flags. Just like, oh, but he's so sweet. So exactly. It's not, he smiled at me. So it's okay that he pushed me down and forced a kiss on me. It's fine.
It's fine. It's all
that's Hot Gimmick.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'll get into specific incidences that won't incriminate anybody I particularly still like and know, in the future. But like, I was like, I also tried to, reading it this time, focus more on like the first page does come in hot with the like, this is company housing. It is the source of all of my woes. And I'm like, all right, so there's like a economic reading to Hot Gimmick that you can superimpose on it and try to focus on that above all the shenanigans. Then I'm like, okay, I'm into that. I also, here's why I said I agreed with that little blurb, because it brought up like being like a psychological kind of thrillery thing. And I was like, yes. When I looked at it less like Gossip Girl and more like Penn Badgley's character in the series You, where he's like a creepy stalker, I was like,
my God.
okay, Hot Gimmick like can make sense. If you look at it from a different, not like shiny shoujo point of view, you're like, okay, I get it. You know, like I can be here. I can be here.
Okay, it could be a psychological, I mean, it is a psychological threat. But, I mean, I never looked at it that way, and I probably never will. But I also see how it is, because the things that Hatsumi goes through are terrifying. They're
terrible.
Absolutely terrifying. And the fact that this one single teenage girl goes through all of this in the span of, I don't know how long, a year.
Yeah.
It's not even over.
That's the other good thing about it, though, I think, is like, there's never a dull, there's no like, it's all signal, no noise. It just keeps going.
Boom. It's like a plot just keeps plotting.
Yeah.
It's almost like it likes to outdo itself.
Yes.
So it'll introduce something like absolutely terrifying. And it's like, we can do better. We can make this messier. Let's introduce this instead. It's like, but we don't have to compete with our old selves. We could just chill. Like,
I think we're in the part.
Is okay.
I think we're at the part where it's kind of starting to realize that, like, it can't outdo what it did in volume like 3, you know, which we'll get into more. But
but they do. But they do.
I know. I was like, but if I remember correctly about some things in the second half, they sure do try.
Oh, they came very close. I'm not going to say what it is now because it's just about part 1.
Yeah.
The ending of Hot Gimmick. There is one point that just made me go, why, Santa? Why? Like, what did I do to be on your naughty list? Like, I didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. It is just, ew. It was just like, I hate it here. I don't care. I don't care about this.
You're the one who reads it every other year, apparently.
I mean, I do, but like that point is where I
just like, I just kind of skim over that.
Yeah, like
part.
my brain checks out.
Okay.
Like it's just like we're done. But I was like, I don't like this. I was like, why am I here? Who put this? Why did you write this? And then Hot Gimmick is not a standalone. It's Hot Gimmick, and then there's a light novels AU reimagining of the ending.
Oh wait, really?
Yes.
Oh no.
Oh, you did not know?
Oh, I did not know this. No.
Hot Gimmick S is the author retconning the entire ending because they just wanted to see what would happen if Hatsumi picked somebody else. And I hate it. I hate every
It's worse
second,
than
every moment of it. I think it's dumb. I mean, I thought the original ending was kind of one of those like, what the heck? But then I read the light novel and I just went,
oh my God, do I have to
why would
this?
you do that? Please.
No. You're like, please, no, we don't want to talk about that.
In part 2, we can talk. I'll bring it up again and we can talk about it. Just remind me.
Okay.
Because I think more people in the world need to know that light novel exists and to never read it. It's terrible. Okay, it's like an AO3 fanfic gone awry. It's terrible. No, not even that. It's Wattpad. AO3 is too good for that trash.
Oh.
It's a Wattpad fic.
Going down.
It's terrible. Netflix is going to make it into a movie one of these days.
Oh no.
Mark my words.
I hate this. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So like, do you have a favorite overall aspect of Hot Gimmick or like?
I think my favorite overall aspect of Hot Gimmick is that it's human. Like in a lot of series, shoujo or otherwise, they give this kind of like sanitized fantasy world where everything is perfect and everything is wonderful and things just kind of work out the way that they're supposed to. But Hot Gimmick is messy. Like rarely are first loves very cut and dry. Yeah, we look at them through rose-colored glasses as adults and we're like, oh, that was such a sweet time. But in the moment, it's stressful, it's gross, it's pushing boundaries. You're trying things for the first time. You're feeling out what's comfortable, what you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
You're having your boundaries pushed. And you're at a place like as a teenager where you're just like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with this, but you kind of go along with it because you don't know any better. You don't know any different. And I think Hot Gimmick perfectly encapsulates that period of time, that just the uncertainty of being a teen, the highs, the lows of these emotions, the relationships you make, just figuring yourself out. Now, again, it does it in the messiest, just traumatizing way possible.
Yeah.
But it feels real. And again, this is let me be clear. Hot Gimmick is a snapshot of a very specific period of time. The early 2000s. Hell, I'll even give you the late 90s. Late 90s to the early 2000s. Yeah. This is a snapshot of that period of time. So if you're going into it with a modern lens, trying to be like, well, it's not like that now. Yeah, it's not. But as someone who was in high school and middle school around that time, very accurate. A lot of the things that Hatsumi does, her thoughts, how she navigates certain situations with the other characters.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but yeah, if I was in that situation, I think that's what similar choices.
I was like, oh no, I think I get mad because I'm like, I want Hatsumi to get out of this situation, and then I'm like, Ashley, really, when your choices are fight, flight, and freeze,
you would freeze.
Are you truly gonna pick fight all the time? Like, no, you know this for a fact.
Exactly. Like, we're sitting here reading this from the comfort of our own homes as adults going, oh, she should just smack him. Like, him, end this man, leave him, run away, report him to the cops.
But
like,
no, I know that I'm totally going to laugh off what he's doing and try to just like get out of it amicably, and it's not going to work, and he's going to take advantage of me. Totally, 100%.
Like, I don't know how many times reading this I yell, tell your parents.
Yes.
Tell your mom. Forget your dad. Tell your mom.
Tell your mom.
Like, tell somebody.
Anyone.
Oh my god. Well, she tries to tell her sister, but her sister's an idiot.
Well,
so
her sister's like, no, this is how it is. Duh.
He's perfect and wonderful.
He's nice.
How could you not love such a handsome, rich boy? And I'm like,
girl.
He punch you into the next zip.
Slap her too, yes.
Akane is 85% of Hatsume's like problems, like 85%.
Oh yeah. We'll get into it.
On a good day.
On a good day.
Ryoki's the other 15.
Yeah, exactly. No. Ryoki's like 10, and then Azusa's like 5.
Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect breakdown of this whole thing. Her sister
Which is again a wild statement to say given a scene.
The story? Given the entire story? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my god. Just
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like the biggest like draw for me with Hot Gimmick. It's messy, it's terrible, but it's also one of my comfort series. Like, none of my comfort series are actually like comforting.
Yeah, okay.
They're not comfortable in any way. They're like either horror or trash. Like so.
Okay.
Because I don't know, there's just something nice about reading about other people's problems and knowing that it has absolutely nothing to do.
You're like, there's worse things I could be going through right now. Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm not, because I'm an adult and not a 12-year-old.
Exactly.
Being dumb. But, you know, it's like watching a train wreck. You know you should look away from the carnage, but you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
You just keep flipping the page.
Yeah.
You just keep flipping it. And then you just go, where is this going? And even when you know where it's going, you're just like, why is it going there?
No, I'm definitely like, we're halfway through and I'm like, how does it have 6 more volumes?
But I remember what happens in those last 6 volumes, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's right.
We're not even all right.
Okay. We're not even at the tip of this iceberg.
I am prepared to be very, very salty in the next recording about everything that I just said. I want to be clear about that as well. I'm like, I think this right now, and then I'm gonna get to the end and be like, no, wait a second.
Oh, you're gonna be even saltier when I tell you about Hot Gimmick S, because it is a ride.
Oh, no.
It's disrespectful. The fact that the author wrote it just made me go, why? Why are we here?
Oh no, I dislike this severely. But yes, I guess I also often describe Hot Gimmick as like over the top, and I'm like, no, but is it over the top, Ashley? Like, again, to give a very concrete example of how I'm upset reading this because I actually think I would react exactly like Hatsumi is like, I used to play ice hockey. Period. I used to play ice hockey. I currently do not, but I used to play ice hockey, particularly on men's teams. So I was the only girl. And there was one practice in particular where, okay, I get very mad about this because to set up the context, I was 14. So Hot Gimmick is new. I'm not familiar with it. I'm 14. I just went into high school. I thought that I was going to join a boys team that was under 16. So it was supposed to be 14 to 16-year-olds. Again, I would have been one of the youngest and the only girl. What happened was I had to have a surgery, like my wisdom teeth removed or something. So I missed a critical practice where they had a vote where they were like, hey, there are 2 people who got cut from the under 18 team.
Wow.
So do you want to rescue their hockey career here and we become an under 18 team? Or we stay as an under 16 team? And they chose to be an under 18 team with 2 people who were between the ages of 16 and 18, right? Which is what that's supposed to be. Who got cut from that. So we were a terrible team is what I'm trying to say because of that. But of course, I'm the scapegoat. I'm the female goalie who's very small. So they're like, we suck because we have a female goalie. And I was like, I'm one of 2 goalies. You have a male goalie who also does not win you games. You have only won 2 games in which I was playing, but okay, So so what happened was one practice, our coach wasn't there. And so they all decided to harass me by shooting pucks at my head because the other goalie was hurt. So I was the only goalie.
My God.
Yeah. And so, and my stick broke. It was I don't think they were actually trying to break my stick. That was just a bad coincidence, right? At the same time.
My God. I'm glad I didn't play any sports because I'd have been like, I can't do this.
So I got into the car. My mom hadn't stayed for the practice or anything. I got into the car. And I was just crying and I couldn't explain to my mom why for 10 minutes. So she's just afraid, right? And I'm looking back at this incident, I'm I wasn't really, now I'm kind of well, wait a minute. I had to have 2 brain aneurysm surgeries. So maybe I was in somewhat danger, aiming at my head or whatever.
Well, not even the danger, that's not a safe situation at all.
Right. And so I'm exactly. I reacted exactly as Hatsumi did. I didn't confront them in the situation. I did not talk to the adult that was there. And, I could have been hey, can you tell them to stop this shit? I didn't do that. I got into a car. I cried a lot. Eventually told my mom. She yelled at my coach. My coach yelled at everybody else. That's
it eventually was solved.
Yeah.
But in that moment, you were just I'll take this to the grave.
Yeah, exactly. It's oh my God, it's so upsetting. So I'm I get you, Hot Gimmick. I understand.
No, I feel like we've all had those experiences. I had that in middle school. There's this girl, she absolutely hated my guts. I don't know why she hated me. I didn't do anything and I was pretty nondescript. But she would go out of her way to just say absolutely atrocious things to me. And I would just be why does she hate me so much? Did I tell a teacher? No. Did I tell anybody other than my friends? No. Should I have? Absolutely. But I got my little petty middle school revenge when, this is against girl code. If you see a woman going through something like this, you should 1000% tell them because everybody has been in this situation and it sucks.
Yeah.
But it was gym. We were having gym and she was wearing all white shorts, white tank top. Mm-hmm. You know where I'm going with this. And she was a menace. She was just absolutely just terrible to me. And I had no desire to help her in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
We were sitting down waiting for the coach to come in. And she stood up. And there was a very large, noticeable red just splotch on her cute white shorts.
Yeah.
And I saw it first.
R.I.P.
No one else
shorts.
had seen it. Yeah, R.I.P. We've all had an R.I.P. white pants situation. But I saw it before anybody else did. And I had a moment where I could have been a decent human being. And I could have been hey, here's my sweater. Because I had a friend do that for me when, I had an issue when I was before that point. But it was because I had a friend and I wasn't a terrible person. So my friend was more than happy to be here, just wrap my sweater around we'll go get this handled.
Yeah.
But I had an opportunity to be a good person and be hey, you've got a thing. Let me help you get out. I said nothing.
You're no, I'm not going to do it.
Let it happen. And then her so-called friends saw it. And of course, they immediately started teasing her. They started pointing and laughing. Yeah. Then everybody else noticed. And then she is in tears. And I'm just kind of sitting there. And you would think I would have felt a little guilty, but not really.
Yeah.
I was just kind of
you're you deserve that.
Well, I was yeah, that sucks, man. Mm. But,
High
you
school
know,
is vicious.
again, I mean, it was vicious. Like I said, it's against girl code. Like, if
Yeah.
you see a person like this, you need to help
You need
them.
to help them.
We've all been there. But she was terrible, so I didn't feel any guilt about that. But like the bullying and her just being terrible to me, I could have said something. I could have brought this up before this point. Like I could have, you know, gone to an adult, but it never crossed my mind to do that because as a teenager, it's like, we just need to handle this amongst ourselves.
Yeah,
or like, it's the end of the world if I tell an adult and that, you know, they confront them, it's going to be like the end of the world. It's going to be a big problem. And it really isn't. It's going to fix the problem, but we don't think. We're not firing with all pistons in our young age.
Not smart, no.
No. Like I said, frontal lobe, not fully formed. So we're not making informed decisions at that point.
No, never.
And a lot of Hot Gimmick is like that.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that Hatsumi goes through is just like, you need to tell an adult. And you brought up earlier about the housing complex and how it's kind of a systemic thing because there's a hierarchy to this housing complex that directly correlates with her dad's job.
Yeah.
And if they piss off Ryoki's mom, who is like the person who runs the housing complex, and the moms who live in the housing complex, if she goes and whispers to her husband about y'all doing something, your dad could be out of a job. So you've got that added level of fear of just like, I can't say anything that will make our family look lesser than, and then get my dad into trouble, which will then have him lose his job and then have us out on the street. So Hatsume's got like all of these things happening to her and she can't really say anything. She could, and I'm sure her parents would probably do something, move her the heck out of there. They'd be gone.
Yeah.
But it's the fear of causing a problem for her family and for ruining their lives and being the reason that they have to leave and run and go do these other things that holds her back from saying a lot of things that she should have said. And it's because, again, she is like 16 and a half and not firing on all pistons. And she's got this insurmountable like weight on her shoulder as the oldest. And she doesn't really see a light out of the tunnel. But I mean, when you develop feelings for your, what do you call it, tormentor?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say at that point. But that's the story.
Yeah. All right. Well, so if we've intrigued you about Hot Gimmick somehow,
if I don't know.
To know, you can get it from Viz Media's Shoujo Beatline still in English. I believe you can still get it physically in these Viz big editions, as you said, and then obviously digitally it is readily available. So we're gonna like go into details about all the horrible things that Ryoki and Azusa do now. So prepare yourself. I strongly content warnings all around. Yeah. Okay, all of them, just all the content warnings.
Toxic relationships. Unwanted content.
Rape. Rape is the biggest one. Gang rape. Like it's
sexual assault.
It's bad.
Physical abuse. Mental abuse.
Yeah, definitely emotional abuse. Like
emotional.
And I think we're going to have different content warnings actually in the back half as far as I remember.
Oh, absolutely. I think for the first half, we also can include, I mean, it's not really.
You're like, I want to walk it back now.
I was going to say the big I, but then I was like, it's not.
Yeah. But like a little bit uncomfortable
it's
there.
It's more like
yeah.
bro-con. Let's go with that. That's probably best.
I was like, there's definitely implied that.
There's heavily implied.
Yes. So we're going to go spoil all of the incriminating incidents of those now. So pause here if you don't want to hear about that. Just generally if you don't want to hear about that.
Go read it and then come back if you really want to know
That's
what our
really
thoughts
what's
were.
Yeah, I was like, all right. So I think for this episode, we can stick to like doing we've already talked about a lot of things. So we can stick to doing like a deep dive into characters and further into their very horrible defining incidences, I suppose. But yeah, so it's always, again, Hatsumi is the main character, but it's like truly...
Is she?
Is she?
Is she? Are we sure about that?
I don't know.
Plot just happens.
That's true. It's a psychological
her.
thriller. Like she's very, very passive.
Yeah, the plot happens to her.
Her. She starts mumbling. But
what? But no. Okay, sure. No, strong. basing your voice. Come on, girl.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that,
No.
Ryoki. We're not
There are
doing
a
that.
couple of times where she does push him away with force, and I'm like, girl, you got twigs for arms. How you do that?
I mean, does he work out either? Like, no, he doesn't.
I mean, no, but he got experience pushing people downstairs. So, you
That's true.
know.
He did push her down the stairs as a child because
He was jealous.
she's dumb. Well,
He was jealous.
The official story was that they were on teams in elementary school where they got ranked by their grades, which, first of all, terrible school system. Do not do that.
Do not recommend.
That is setting the whole class up for disaster. Okay, so Ryoki is the smartest, but she's the dumbest. So, Asusa's team, that's slightly above average, comes out on top, and Ryoki is like jealous and mad about that all the time. So he takes it out by pushing Hatsumi down the stairs, but it's probably really that Hatsumi likes Asusa more.
Yeah, no, because I think also what happened too. That was that started it. That started it. But the part that pushed him over, his little brain over the edge.
yes.
Because he pretty much was left to his own devices, Ryoki, because he's a rich kid. His parents are busy. His mom's busy kind of trying to put up these pretenses that they're better than they are.
Yeah.
Making sure the house is okay, doing all these social events and stuff like that. So he's mostly left with maids and hired help. And he really doesn't have any contact from his parents. His dad is also busy. I want to say working, but I'm going to say having affairs.
Oh.
Because we're at the point where I can say that. Ryoki's pretty much left to his own devices, and people don't want to hang out with him either because his mom is the wife of the director of the company. So she runs everything, and they don't want to get on her bad side. So if their kids are playing with him and they get on his bad side, that could ruin their chances. So nobody really wants to play with Ryoki.
Yeah.
So he's kind of playing by himself, and Hatsumi she's a baby. So she's just like, oh, a new friend. He's all by himself. I should go and play with him. So they start playing together. And this is his first friend. And of course, he's a child. He starts developing a little baby crush, but he also looks forward to playing with her, but he also doesn't want to share her with anybody else because, again, he's rich and spoiled, and he does not have socialization skills because his parents are never there. So he pretty much wants to keep her to himself. And they play kind of on the roof by themselves. And it's mostly him telling her what games they're going to play, which, again, is normal for children. That's how it is. And it's actually pretty healthy, considering they're children.
Considering Hot Gimmick, sure.
yeah, Hot Gimmick. Considering it's Hot Gimmick. It's probably the most wholesome part of their relationship is when they were children. And then Azusa moves into the apartment complex. Because I think his dad starts working for the company or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows him from school. And she's like, oh, you're living here too. We can all play together. And he's like, what do you mean we can all play? Azusa's like, what do you mean we can play together? Who are you playing with? He's like, oh, I've got this friend. He's really shy, but he's really fun. And he has great toys and stuff. So she takes Azusa up to the roof to play with Ryoki, thinking that they can all play together, because in any normal world, this would be a great little threesome friendship that would turn into a love triangle later. This is Hot Gimmick.
Yes.
That's not what happens. Ryoki is immediately upset because he thinks that he's mad because she invited someone into their secret base. This is his special spot, and he just happened to let her be there because it was the only place he could feel safe and secure and just away from all the other BS in his house.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited her into the space because he trusted her and he was friends with her. Not to be sympathetic to Ryoki, because he does not need our sympathy, but
No.
I understood where he was coming from in this point. And it's his actions that are terrible. He was very hurt and upset that she had brought somebody else into the space. One, without asking him, and two, because he just wanted it to be them. The two of them, their little world, their thing.
Yeah.
Instead of taking it out on Azusa, he gets mad at her because he's like, why did you bring him here? You're not real. You're not my friend. He gets really upset, unreasonably upset. And she's crying and trying to explain, oh, I thought we could play together and just be friends. And he's like, no, you're trash. You're the worst. He calls her every name a small child can call another child. And then he pushes her down the stairs because she like tries to come close to him and he pushes her away, but he doesn't realize she's like in front of the stairs and she falls down a flight of stairs. Azusa is like, what is wrong with you? You pushed her down the stairs. She could die. And like, she's at the bottom of the stairs crying.
Yeah.
Ryoki feels bad about what he did. But again, no socialization skills. Doesn't know what to do. He runs away. And Azusa like takes her to get help. And from that point on, Hatsumi is terrified of Ryoki because she thought they were friends, but then he pushes her down a flight of stairs. Again, she's a child. She doesn't understand why it happened. And he's also not old enough to explain why he was upset. Again, him pushing her down a flight of stairs, not a good move. Not a smart thing, even as a child. But like, it kind of explains why she is the way she is at the beginning and why he is the way he is. He's pretty much been kind of like crushing on her since that moment, but he does not know how to be a human being. So
it's very like he has the severest form of autism, and the author uses that as a reason for him to be an asshole.
Like,
and it's
he's very closed off. And it's like, I mean, it explains why he is the way that he is. It's not an excuse for any of his actions.
Exactly.
Because it never will be.
There's just because you're autistic, you don't get to rape people. Like, it's not.
Go get actual help. Go see a therapist. Go talk to somebody. Like, do that before you do all this craziness. Not that his parents would get him the help that he needed anyway, because his parents are pretty much negligent. But that's why Hatsumi is like terrified of him, because she remembers that. She remembers him pushing her down the stairs.
I sure hope she does.
And then like her memory's kind of wonky too, so she doesn't really remember them playing together either all that much. He does, but she doesn't, and she avoids him for years, even though they've been living in the same complex forever. Azusa moves away because reasons, and they grow up and they become teenagers, and she's been pretty much just avoiding the heck out of Ryoki the whole time. And Ryoki sees her as beneath him anyway, so he doesn't really try to engage with her in any way, shape, or form. And like, yeah, like that's just Ryoki. He's not a good guy.
No.
He is a very bad guy. He does some very bad things. Let me rephrase. He's not a bad guy. He does bad things. He really has been neglected, and he needs someone who not only loves him, but is able to support him and give him the care that he needs. Hatsumi is not it. She is a child herself. She cannot take care of a grown person. But his parents are so caught up in their own stuff that they neglect him, and they're not there for him. I think the only person in the story who really like understands he needs more is the maid. And she is like constantly like trying to help him out. Like, she's telling him when he does stuff wrong, maybe you should try this instead. Maybe you should be nicer. Maybe you should say please.
Girls don't like this.
Yeah, like she tells him what he should and shouldn't do, because she realizes like, oh, he likes Hatsumi.
Yeah.
He likes her, but he's not doing it right. So let me help him out. Of course, he doesn't listen all the time, so it just ends up just blowing up in his face most of the time. But like, that's the only person he has who kind of like checks him. And they even have a scene where like he was a child and he says some out-of-pocket stuff to her, and she slapped the crap out of him.
She smacked it.
He did. He absolutely did. And he was like, oh, you hit me. And he said, you deserved it. And he was like, from that moment, he respected this woman, because like she acknowledged that.
So if Hatsumi just kicked him in the balls, he would respect her more. Like, that's what I learned.
Doubtful. Highly doubtful. Highly doubtful, but she never would. She never would, though. The author didn't write her to be somebody who would do that at all. But
that's
like,
true. He is such a pushover.
She's a piece of paper. She's tissue paper at that, like wet tissue paper, but in the ocean. But yeah, like Ryoki, Ryoki is a sympathetic character. Now, he's terrible, and I don't excuse any of his actions. I want to be very clear about this. For everybody who has ever read Hot Gimmick, heard about Hot Gimmick, I do not excuse his actions. But when you know where he's coming from, and you see where he is, and then you see how if you squint, like absolutely squint, the character growth he goes throughout the series, it's actually not terrible. He does become a better person.
He's trying.
for, yeah, he's making an effort. And I think that goes a long way from the person who's just like not giving any effort to someone who is. Because once him and Hatsumi kind of reconnect in their teen years, and I say reconnect because the plot demanded it,
Yes.
he first thing he does is he says, "You'll be my slave," and then he uses her for his own twisted fantasies, and he just does all these terrible things to her against her will. She doesn't want any of it. She's like, "No," and he's like, "Well, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna tell my mom about your sister," and he's blackmailing her.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that she doesn't want any of this. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She's terrified. Like, she breaks out in a cold sweat. She's shaking every time he touches her. Like, it's really hard to watch. And he slowly, and I say slowly because there's no other word slower than slow, and he slowly starts to realize that, like, she's kind of terrified of him. And he starts to slowly change his approach because he starts to develop real, genuine feelings for her. But he, again, doesn't know how to be a human being. So he doesn't do it right.
The author does a good job of early on making you be like, Ryoki is very, very, very book smart, which means that the only way that he understands how to do anything is if he reads it as a formula in a book, right? So he's like reading a book on how to lose your virginity. That's like the most horrible book in the world, as far as I can tell. It's like, that's a role-playing scenario where if she's telling you no, when she says no, it does not mean yes, unless you're in a role-playing scenario, in which case you've already established the rules that is what you're doing. You know, like, that book just seemed bad. But otherwise, we get these hints too that, like, you know, he's more mathematical, right? So, like, there are times in the panels where it shows you, like, there's that time where she tells him, he's like, no, she's like, being your girlfriend is worse than being your slave. And he puts it into like an equation, right? In his head, he's like, if X equals slave and like, you know.
That was actually really funny.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay. So he's like doing that. And then there's the second time it happens is there's a panel where he's talking to Subaru, who's one of their other like dorky friends. We'll get to
great.
him. Yeah,
I wish he was the main love interest.
Yeah, he's the only one who's like, this is the pure and innocent one here. So Subaru, we'll get to him, but like,
so much.
You know, he's talking to Subaru and trying to ask Subaru, like, hey, is it normal for siblings to like hug and say they love each other a lot?
It's because Ryoki picks up on the weirdness
between
Shinogu and Hatsumi from jump. And he knew something was wrong with. Okay, but one thing I will say about Ryoki.
Yeah,
he's not a dummy.
He's not a dummy. He's just...
Shinogu. Just the shortest side about Shinogu. Shinogu is a nice guy, good guy, perfect big brother. He's always there to support you. He's always there to care. He always seems to be perfect in every way. But Ryoki is possessive and jealous. He can sniff out a threat a mile away. And from the very beginning, he saw that brother as a threat. There was no moment where he was just like, she's like, oh, that's just my brother. And he's like, are you sure?
Are you
and
sure?
She's like, yeah, like he's literally like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, he's my big brother. He's always so sweet. And he was watching this man like a hawk. And that's why he asked his friend. He was like,
yeah, so
siblings hug like
he was
this?
like, is this normal? And then in the background, he's like, because on a scale of 1 to 10, I was at 24, 26 or something when Shinogu said, I love you on the uncomfortableness scale. And you see like a graph behind him of like the things that went on and his uncomfortable level. And I was like, yeah. So when you look at Ryoki like that, you're like, no, I get what you're doing, like from a storytelling character growth perspective. He's still super gross. Yeah.
He's trash. He's still trash. He's terrible. He's like, no excuses for this man. But I've read the series several times, but every time I read it, like when I first read it, I was just like, oh my God, why are they together? This is terrible. Ugh, make this stop.
Yes.
But every subsequent read, I mean, it's a perfectly reasonable response every time you read it, but the more I read it, the more I start to see nuance to the character. Is it the best written character arc? No. Could they do better? Yes. But you start to see Ryoki as like a person and not this tormentor that's just there lurking in the shadow, this demon in the shadow looking for ways to just ruin this girl. He really does not understand, and he really doesn't know. Again, never an excuse. He needs therapy, but this is written in 2000 to 2005. There was nary therapy around in these shoujos, but it explains like a lot of the choices he makes. Like a lot of the stuff he does is out of desperation to keep her close, to keep her away from other people, because he wants her to be with him. He wants her to see him as a love interest, as a person, as a man that she can love. And he does these things because he thinks they're ways to keep her close. And they're just not. And because Hatsumi is who she is and she doesn't get pushback, he doesn't get kind of any like repercussions for the things that he does. He does them. She says, no, I don't really want it. And then she gives in. And then it's fine. And then it's fine later when he does it again. Or she starts to catch feelings for him. And it's like, oh, I'm in love with him. So now it's okay that he kisses me. Like that sort of thing. So he never really gets checked for the bad behavior because Hatsumi doesn't hold him accountable for it. No one does.
No.
And I think that's one of the biggest shortcomings of the series.
Right.
Hatsumi doesn't grow. She doesn't change. She doesn't get stronger. She doesn't become a better person. You can argue that she becomes more discerning when it comes to other people, but that's a squint and you miss it kind of situation. And that's because of something that happens with another character. But she never like every shoujo story, it's the heroine, they are the main character, they are the person we're following. This is their story, this is their arc. She always feels like a side character in her own life. There is never a point where I felt like she made a true she makes a decision at the end that that makes it
Maybe
pretty
we
final.
Didn't want her to make decisions.
Yeah,
all along.
it was a decision we didn't want her to make, but like it's the only time in the entire series that she makes a decision that has a marked like effect on the story. Everything else she does, nothing. She does nothing. She doesn't grow. She doesn't change. She is the same person she is at the beginning of the book, at the beginning of the series, as she is at the very end. And they actually do like a callback to the beginning of the series at the very end of it with her interactions with Ryoki. And I'm just like, it doesn't have the effect that you think it does because nothing has changed. She is not suddenly empowered. She's not emboldened. She is not the strong, independent queen who don't need no Ryokis. No, she is very much a dependent woman who is going to just go with whatever this man says. It just so happens that Ryoki happens to be in love with her, and he actually does care about her. He just goes about it like a toddler would, sticking a fork in a socket and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And hoping for the best. But like that's Hatsune in a nutshell. Like it's really hard to talk about her because she's frustrating. Because what would have made Hot Gimmick feel like a better series to a lot of people, because I know a lot of people don't like Hot Gimmick because of
everything. Yeah,
the story.
So Ryoki
and the characters
in particular, but yes.
They blame Ryoki. And I mean, I blame Ryoki too, but I also blame the writer. If you're going to write this kind of a story with this, like a character like Ryoki and trying to make, and Azusa and everybody else for that matter, and you're trying to make it so it's this big empowering thing where like, well, Hatsumi, she grows through her interactions with these characters, through her relationship with Ryoki, she learns what she wants and what she doesn't want, and then she becomes stronger and she becomes on equal footing with him. That never happens. There is never a point where they are on equal footing. Ryoki still has all the power and the control. She's just now allowed to enjoy the pleasures of it because she's in love with him. And she genuinely wants to do whatever he says, which ick either way. It's very ick. But like, yeah, she just, oh my God, I just want to shake her. Like, just shake her and just say, why? Why, girl? I think you should be by yourself for a couple of years.
Yeah. Like,
don't do it. Like, just don't. Like, her sister, Akane, is a much better character. She's terrible. She's also terrible.
I was like, she's pretty terrible.
Most of the characters are terrible, but like Akane, she's 14. She kind of sleeps around. She's had all of these experiences with men, different ages. Again, I have questions about all the men who were sleeping with this middle school child, but we're going to let that go for now.
Okay.
We're just going to put a pin in that.
Okay.
It's not right. We're just going to let it go. But
Akane, the reason we're in this whole mess.
she's the reason we're in this mess to begin with, because of the pregnancy test, which, again, she didn't even need. She just needed to wait an hour. But Akane, you do see go through this really fantastic character arc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. I wanted to follow her more than I wanted to follow Hatsumi. Because her little side story growth, her relationship that she ends up in, I loved it. I said, why is this not the story? Why are we following these two trash people who should never be together? Because she starts off as this very selfish, very self-centered girl who's just very much about looking pretty, getting boys, and just having fun. But she ends up meeting Subaru, right?
Yeah.
And he is Ryoki's friend. I don't know why he's Ryoki's
That's never
friend.
explained. Yeah, that's like,
Ryoki.
Whatever.
He's a decent person, and Ryoki is not. So the fact that they're friends is really mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But Subaru is really sweet. He's kind of nerdy. He likes Gundams and anime and manga. He's a little on the short side. He's not like drop dead gorgeous like Ryoki is. He's just kind of there.
But he's not ugly.
And
he's fine.
No, he's not. He's adorable, actually.
Yeah.
He's also friends with Hatsumi. He is probably the closest person to Ryoki outside of the maid. And he does a lot of the Ryoki whispering like for Hatsumi.
Yeah.
But he's like very nerdy, and he's very just kind of there. And he's a good friend to Hatsumi too, but like not the same.
Right.
He ends up meeting Akane. Well, because Akane is trying to throw herself at Ryoki. Because let's not forget, Hatsumi's sister Akane is in love with Ryoki, and she has been in love with Ryoki for, I don't know, since she was 10, because she is only like 14 and a half. So 4 years. And she pretty much does everything in her power to try to get Ryoki. She even like runs into him and falls and does this weird like panty shot thing.
Yeah, I was like, you don't. Okay.
Like, she's 14, yeah? Can we not do that? Thanks.
Yes.
Good job. Good job, writer. Let's never do that again. Ryoki! He's like...
He's unfazed.
He does not seem like...
He's like, this is not a sexual being.
Exactly, because he's in love with Hatsumi. So, like, any other woman is just not it for him. There's no tingle in his dingle for anybody other than Hatsumi. So when she does this, he's just kind of like, oh, he's like, ooh, panties. But he's like, panties. That's literally how he says it.
Yeah,
and
like
Subaru, wait, is that her name? Yeah, Subaru. Subaru is there. He's there. And he's like full face flushed, blushing, losing his mind. He's like, panties! Because he's mostly been playing with his little Gundam. So he had no time for panty looking.
Yeah.
And that's like the first moment that he like starts to really notice Akane. Of course, Akane is pretty much throwing herself at Ryoki, so he doesn't have the time of day. But throughout the story, they spend time together because Ryoki's usually run off with Hatsume. So they're kind of left to their own devices, and they end up developing a friendship. And she's like, at first, like, oh, I can help you get girls. You need to get rid of your toys and stuff like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll give you a makeover to make you better. And he's like, okay. And but he's really just interested in her.
Yeah.
And Akane kind of, who's always been very self-centered and just focused on like hot guys and just living her best life, starts to see that the guys that she's been going for, they don't treat her right. They don't like her. They want to sleep with her because they think she's easy. But Subaru is the only person who has not done any of those things. He treats her like a person. He listens when she talks, and he actually cares about what she does.
Well, yeah, they had a very cute moment where like he says that explicitly, right? Like she's mad at him because she's like, stop treating me like patronizingly. Like he's like patting her head after a horrible interaction that she had with an older man who was trying to pick her up. And he's like, I'm not treating you like a kid. I'm treating you like a girl. And she's just like, I was like, ooh, yes, the Doki Dokis are here
There
for
it
all
is.
of us.
Yes, because like it's just one of the, because like we get nothing from Ryoki. We get nothing. We get in his head, so we know why he's doing what he's doing, but like we don't get
no Doki Dokis there.
I mean, I did get a Doki Doki or two, but like I felt bad about it. I felt so bad about it. I felt
guilty
really
Doki
terrible.
Dokis. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, no, stop that. You stop that. This is not okay. But like he treats her like a person. And then there's like a scene where she gets like drunk and she's like all over him. She's like, am I not pretty enough? Are my boobs not big enough? And she puts her hands on his hands
like,
on her
I'm not
boobs.
ready to sexually harass you.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. And it's so cute because he's just like, no. He's like, you're gorgeous. You're beautiful. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen. But I don't want to do that. She thinks like it's because he's rejecting her. And he's like, no, I like you, but like, I don't want to treat you like an object. I want to know you. And you just see them develop this sweet relationship. And it's so wholesome and so wonderful and so good. And it's proof that Miki Aihara can write a really sweet romance. She just chose violence.
Yes, she chose
Ryoki
violence. It's
Hatsumi.
true. The worst violence that Subaru has committed so far was that, like, in that scene where she got drunk and like had made him molest herself. Yeah. He got like a little horny, so he had to go resolve that in the bathroom, which was actually
away. He walked
away to be in private, to be like, no, I'm going to remove myself from this bad situation, which was in direct contrast to what Ryoki had just said earlier. Like, he was like, you can't expect me to resolve this on my own. I was like, Subaru can do it. Why can't you?
If other people can do it, so can you.
You're smart, Ryoki.
Your legs are longer. You can walk to the bathroom quicker. Like, dude, like,
you're fine. You're fine. You can figure it out.
Like I said, Ryoki just chooses violence at every turn, and like you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and then he says something or he does something, you're just like, I can't stand you. Stop speaking. But you have these two like parallel relationships that are going in such completely different trajectories. And it's just heartbreaking because I love Akane. I hated this little girl in the beginning because I was like, you're the reason we're in this problem. We're in this situation.
Yeah.
But you see her grow as a character. You see her become like an actual 3-dimensional character with other things going for her. Because at the beginning, she's just kind of like, I like boys, I like partying, and I sleep around. Woohoo! But by the middle of the series, like halfway through, she's already made a change. She's different.
Yeah.
She's not the same. She doesn't put as much stock on like the things that she thought were important, like fashion and good looks. She'd rather be treated like a person and be in a happy relationship with somebody, or just have somebody know who she is and actually have the space to know what she wants to do with her life. Because before, she didn't know what the hell she wanted to do. She just kind of did it.
Yeah.
But now she kind of is like, well, I want to go do this. I want to go to school. I want to go do these things with you. I want to go to this anime con with you. Like it's just cute stuff. And she becomes this fully developed character. But Hatsumi never becomes that person. Ryoki does. Yeah. Because we learn about what's going on with him. Azusa does too. Every other character but Hatsumi goes through this great like character arc where you kind of see them become a better version of themselves by the end. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. Ryoki is a perfect example. He is not a perfect person by the end. He's still terrible. But he's at least a bit more considerate of other people's feelings. Well, Hatsume's feelings. He still doesn't care about other people. No. But he still is very demanding.
Yeah.
He's a toddler. He starts out the series as an infant and he ends it by being a toddler. Yeah, he's a toddler by the end. He's a little self-sufficient, but not enough. Not enough. Not in a place that you need him to be.
Yeah.
He's potty trained, but that's about it. And he can talk, so he can tell you what he wants.
Yeah,
but like, can't really do much else. But with Hatsumi, it's just kind of like, girl, why are you here? Why are we even following you? Why is this story about you? Like,
yeah, it's such a shame because, I mean, I want to get more into this when we bring up Shinogu. I think the last two remaining characters that we really have to talk about are Azusa and Shinogu. But so a lot of it, like with Hatsumi, is that I'm like, Hatsumi at her base is actually, I think, fine, right? Like, the point is that she's very innocent and the world takes advantage of her and the world is wrong, right?
Yeah, no.
Which, again, the story just doesn't, rectify that either fully.
No.
So that's the main issue. And I'm like, a lot of Hot Gimmick, I might get chewed out for this, but a lot of Hot Gimmick to me does feel very actually Clamp inspired, sometimes with the art, particularly Shinogu, right? Like, Shinogu looks like he's straight up ripped out of Chobits, right? Like, okay.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think that the main ideas of Clamp are a lot of being like, love is messy and there's like taboo subjects all over the place and like yada yada yada. Like, I think a lot of that shows up here, but just in like the trashiest form. And like, so it's like, we should be able to love Hatsumi as she is, as an innocent little girl who's trying to do the right thing and keeps trying to tell Ryoki, that she's like, but I want love to be this like ideal thing. Like, you could at least try. And he's like, why would we try for that? Like, squeaky clean ideal,
You brought up this good little girl. And I think that's the problem with Hatsumi. She acts like a child. Like, not to say that a teenager is not a child, because teenagers are children.
Yeah.
But she acts like Cardcaptor Sakura. She acts like she's that age. Like she's an elementary school
10.
child.
Yeah. Instead of
she acts
16.
Like a 10-year-old.
Okay.
But she's 16. And a lot of her I'm like trying to find the word, but like it is selflessness, but it's like selflessness to a fault.
Right.
Like, there is no counterbalance to it. She is just selfless. She will literally give everything that she can to other people and get nothing in return, and she'll be okay with that. She is a doormat. She lets these people walk all over her. She conforms to whatever they want her to be. And she never takes a moment to go, I want to be this. I mean, she does at one point say, I want to be with Ryoki, but like, is that really the smartest decision that she made?
Yeah, no.
Is that really the decision you wanted to make in this story? The one choice you get, and this is the one you made. Okay, sure. That's the hill you want to die on, and have fun.
Yeah, we don't know anything about Hatsumi. Doesn't have a talent or like a hobby,
desires,
like
dreams, anything.
Even if
like we don't even
everybody else
we don't
has
even know what she wants
ones.
to do.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know if she wants to go to college. We don't know what she wants in life. She is just content to be Ryoki's slave and then girlfriend in training because. And
again, it's like every other character doesn't have like a deep backstory, right? But it's like they have something, right? Like Subaru is the Gundam otaku weird one, right? Yes. He just wants to build Gundam models and stuff. Akane is into having fun and fashion. Ryoki's really smart and likes math. Like there's something there. But if you ask me like what's Hatsumi into, I'd be like, I don't.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. There's literally nothing there. She's a blank slate. I don't know if she was meant to be a proxy for the reader, which is upsetting beyond words.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if that was the case, this should have just been a self-insert story and I could have written in what I wanted. But neither here nor there. But there's nothing to her. There really isn't anything of substance. And it's really sad because if she had an arc, it would have taken Hot Gimmick to another level. And I wonder if it's just because Hot Gimmick is a product of its time. You have these stories with these heroines that are kind of just there for the romance and for the love, for the romance of the relationship. And that is their arc. Their story is this relationship. Again, I say this knowing that Red River, Basara, and From Far Away all existed in this period. They are fantastic stories with fantastically written heroines and beautiful romance stories that make you just feel all the doki dokis. So much great growth. But I don't know what the heck happened with Hot Gimmick because Aihara just said, nah, she doesn't need a personality. She doesn't need wants or desires. Her only want and desire is Ryoki and making sure everybody's happy. Actually, forget Ryoki. Her desire is that everyone is happy.
Maintain the status quo, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, It's so frustrating. Like I play a lot of Otome games, and it gives me the same feeling I get when I play like a self-insert Otome game, because rarely do the choices I make in a self-insert Otome game vibe with my own personal feelings. They are very meek, they are very just unassuming, they don't rock the boat, they just kind of, like you said, maintain the status quo. Some of these dudes in Otome games, they say some out of pocket stuff. And my first response is, bye, you can leave. I'm not doing this. Are you serious? You said that to me? What, you opened your mouth and said that. I'm playing a game right now where the guys are all kind of a little just misogynistic. Just a taste. Just a little sprinkle.
Okay.
Just a
They're seasoned
sprinkle.
with misogyny. Okay.
Yeah, just a little sprinkle of salt. And I mean, they get better as each route goes on. They like slowly become human beings. Actually, they get rid of that whole shtick within like the first 1 or 2 chapters. But like, it's more of a product of the times they come from, and not so much just them being absolute jerks. But even then, it's like, you can call them out on it. Like when they say something, you're like, that male chauvinism is just not it today, friend. Like you might want to turn that down a notch.
Yeah.
But Hatsumi never does that. There's never a point. Even with, and this is a perfect segue into Azusa.
I was like, we've been dancing around this boy. He needs.
Even with Azusa, Azusa is like the perfect, handsome shoujo male love interest.
He's a model.
He's a model. They've been their childhood friends. He moved away. He's beautiful. Hatsumi has been in love with him for I don't know how long.
Ever.
Her whole little life. And he's sweet to her. He is like literally everything Ryoki is not on the surface. He brings her flowers. He remembers the things that she likes. He brings her candy. He walks home from school with her, which upsets Ryoki, but what doesn't upset Ryoki at this point?
Yeah.
They talk. He actually seems to be invested in what she says. Not that she says anything of value, but he listens. Good for him.
Yeah.
And he treats her like a human being, which again, Ryoki doesn't know how to treat anybody like a human being. It's not Hatsumi focused. It's everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
But he treats her like a person. And of course, she kind of sees that kindness as just, love. She sees it as love. And I mean, it just bolsters her already existing crush that she has. And it develops into full blown, I'm in love with Azusa. And I'm like, you don't know Azusa.
Yeah, I'm like, he just came back here. You don't know him?
And you in love with him. But she is so desperate for someone who's not treating her like crap, like Ryoki, that she latches onto the first sweet person around her, not including her brother. But we'll get there in a minute. We'll get to the brother.
Yeah, that will be our end. But the brother.
Oh yeah, it has to be. But she kind of latches onto Azusa because he's everything Ryoki's not, and he makes her feel safe because, again, she has nothing else going for her. So she just needs a protector and a prince, and he's her prince. And they start dating, which is interesting because technically, and I'm like, I say this technically and very loosely, on paper, she is technically dating Ryoki. And I say this knowing full well that it's a transactional situation and that she had no choice in the matter. But she drops Ryoki for Azusa. And she only starts to get all big and bad because she thinks that Azusa can protect her from Ryoki. Before, she would never dare tell Ryoki to go shove it. But because she's now protected by Azusa, she's like, I'm with Azusa now. We're dating. I don't have to do anything you want. You can tell your mom whatever you want to tell her. I don't care.
Yeah, that's like her
I'm
one
dating
spine moment.
It's like the one moment. And that's because she thinks a man is protecting her. It's not because she's stronger as a character. It's not because she has seen the light. It's because she thinks she has a wall between her and Ryoki, and it's called Azusa. And that is the only reason. And Azusa is sweet. Like, she makes him a little charm bracelet, which So early 2000s.
So 2000s.
Oh, so early 2000s. I was like, oh, it's got his name on it. I was like, oh no. Oh no, how many of these have I made?
We made so many decisions in the early 2000s before we had the internet and stuff widespread.
We had nothing else
we had nothing else to do. We were confused.
But like, yeah, so like she's with this man and he's treating her right and she's more and more in love but he's got his own agenda.
Oh, does he?
Because he's crazy.
This man, I'm just like, how is he not in jail? How is he?
He's hot.
He's hot. That's how he's not in jail. You're right.
He's hot. Because this is the spoiler section. I can say this.
Oh yeah,
now.
we can say everything he did now.
So Azusa has been playing a long game.
The longest of cons.
he's been playing this game for since he was 11, but he's been setting this up since he was 11, and it's absolutely bonkers. He moved away when he was a child because there was an incident between his mom and his dad. They separated, and he went with his mom, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, he went with the mom, and then he ends up coming back to stay with the dad. But that's not important right this second. I mean, it is, but it's not. But he comes back at the start of the series to the housing complex. And Hatsumi's like, oh my God, Azusa, you're back. Yay. And they start dating. And we find out that Azusa came back because he is out for revenge.
Yes.
Revenge.
Oh, yes.
Because his mother had an affair with someone when he was younger, and it ruined the family. And he has been doing research because he was all of 12 at the time. He did research in a time without all that internet stuff.
He hired private detectives and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He figured out who the affair partner was.
Private detectives respected this 12-year-old for some reason.
I don't know how or why or where.
They were like, he's got money. It's all good.
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
It's like, welcome to Fantasy Island. Yes. But he gets the deets on who the guy was who cheated with his mom. And he's like, I'm going to get revenge on this man by ruining his life. Private detectives discover that the affair partner is Hatsumi's daddy. So he's like, cool, I already got it in with the girl. I'm just going to ruin the daughter to show the father the pain that we went through when my mom was disgraced. So he starts being nice to her so that he can get close to her, so that he can essentially ruin her life and her father's life by proxy.
Yeah.
To do this, he sets up several opportunities where he puts Hatsumi in dangerous situations. The first one is he invites her to come out to a bar. She is underage. She brings this up. She says, I'm underage. I shouldn't drink. You know, it's whatever. And he's like, oh, it's fine. I'll be there. You'll be safe. It's just me and some friends, some fellow models. So she goes. Yeah. She gets drunk. He slips drugs into her drink to ensure that she is roofied.
Yeah.
And he's about to cart her almost lifeless body out of that place. But who shows up?
Who is there but Savior Shinogu?
Who happens to have every friggin' job in the world because this man works everywhere and nowhere. He's always there when something bad goes down and he's just working. So it's like, dude, what do you do? So he's a waiter at this bar. He sees her and he's like, what the heck are y'all doing to my sister? And he's like, no, she's not going with you guys. She's inebriated. I'm taking her home. So he takes her home and Azusa failed. He's like, foiled again.
Foiled again.
He just twirls his mustache. He's like, I'll get her next time.
Next time on Hot Gimmick.
Pretty much. And then the next time, well, this is also another opportunity for Ryoki to be a terrible person. She's drunk. Shinogu sets her down and is like, she's like, I don't want to go home. And our parents see me drunk. And he's like, all right, I'll just sit you here on the roof. So he sits her on the roof. Ryoki shows up. Because the roof is his hideout, and Ryoki just lives on the roof sometimes. He sees a passed out Hatsume. Instead of thinking, let me take her home, Let me make sure she's okay. Let me go get help. He decides this is a perfect opportunity to try to cop a feel. And he begins playing with her boobies.
And then there were titties.
Passed out. And he's just fondling her while she's passed out. And she's like in and out of it. She's like, ooh, what's going on? She's thinking she's like
she's imagining she's with Azusa.
And then she wakes up and finds out it's Ryoki, and he's got her top down and his hands are on her, and she's like, what the heck is going on? And he's like, I mean, you were enticing me the way you were just laying there unconscious. And I'm like, Ryoki, honey.
Ryoki, that's rape. Talking. I know you know what rape is, Ryoki. You talk about it later.
I'm like, honey, stop talking. Please stop talking. I was like, why do you open your mouth? I was like, you could have just said it. My bad. You could have said my bad. Not that that's an excuse or excuses anything, but like, you could have just said my bad. But instead, you victim blame the person. She gets out of there. And then the next day, Azusa's like, hey, sorry about last. She's like, I'm so sorry about last night. You must think I'm terrible. And he's like, no, you're still beautiful and wonderful and everything I love and want in the world. And she's like, oh, thank God. And he's like, hey, I'm having a party with some friends. You want to come over to my place? And she's like, oh, you still want to hang out with me? And he's like, yes, of course. So she goes. Ryoki, who has never trusted Azusa, but again, Ryoki, it's like, okay.
That's good instinct.
He has good instincts for bad people. Let me put it this way. My dad was in a fraternity as a college student.
Okay.
When I went to Howard for undergrad, I was in a co-ed off-campus dorm as a freshman. My dad was not okay with this. Mm-hmm. He called that school every day to try to get me out of that dorm and into an all-female freshman dorm. Mm-hmm. Didn't work because Howard said, forget you. But my dad did not want me near any of the boys, especially off-campus co-ed dorm. Mm-hmm. Because my dad was one of those college boys at one point. Mm-hmm. So he knew the thoughts that college boys had. Mm-hmm. Ryoki is the same way. He's a terrible person, so he can suss out other
he's like,
terrible
I know
people.
Exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, he's the Republican who's like, well, this is what people are going to take advantage of. And it's like, is that because you do it too? Is that like yourself? Where your brain goes, you know?
Yes. Yeah. It's like Dexter, like with like the serial killer who sniffs out other serial killers. Like, he is it. It's because it's you. Same energy. Yes. You just sniff out the vibe. So he immediately pegs that Azusa's not on the up and up. However, his actions are on the up and up, so he can't really say anything negative because he hasn't done anything. He finds out that Hatsumi is supposed to be going to his place, and he's like, oh, heck no. You are not going alone. You are not going there by yourself. You are my slave, and I am going with you. And she's like, no, it's just me and Azusa. You can't come. And he's like, I'm coming. So he gets there, and Azusa's like, dang, you brought Ryoki to our secret little rendezvous? It's supposed to be just you and me. And Ryoki's like, I came because I wanted to, party too. And he's like, whatever.
Got swag for this one time.
Yeah. He's like, whatever. Azusa's like, whatever, do what you gotta do. So then
Azusa's like, he's a pansy, we can take him too, so it's okay.
And this is the part where I just went,
This is the most over the top part so far of this manga.
This is like, there's always this one moment in certain manga series that just makes you go, why is this here? Because Azusa,
unfortunately, I think she's like, that was a bit too far. I'm having trouble walking that back.
Yeah, because how are you gonna walk that back? Then Azusa apologizes. But like, we're dancing around what happens.
Yes.
What happens is Azusa sets Hatsumi up to be gang raped.
Yes.
Because that's what you do, so, I guess.
I'm like, on the one hand, I think it's over the top. And again, I do think there's a lot of struggle in the story. Yeah, one, it was like so over the top. The over the topness is that she struggles to walk it back, but she wants to, right? Like, it's very clear.
You immediately realize she wants to walk it back, but she can't, because it's like, I just did that. I gotta address
It's like,
this.
I gotta keep going now, like, damn. Okay. The ridiculous of it, I think I'm just like, all of those guys agreed to be on camera, like, have incriminating evidence against them. Yeah, part. And so that part to me feels like, there should be consequences, right?
Not even in 2000 would anybody do that. Like,
well,
they had a video camera. I mean, okay, yes, we are aware, but they set up a camera, like they set up a big camera to record this entire incident. And Azusa, in all of his magnanimity, or whatever it is, I don't know what the word is. Clearly, I don't know. But all of his goodness, he offers to let Ryoki go first.
Oh, yes. He's a great, upstanding guy. He's like, you want to do this, right?
And in a rare moment for Ryoki, he decides this is a sick, twisted thing.
He's like, I'm not this bad. He wants to be better than them still.
And here's the thing, though. He doesn't turn it down because he doesn't want to.
No.
He turns it down because he wants his first time to be a private thing between him and Hatsumi.
Yeah, he's like,
he doesn't want other people watching. Let's not give Ryoki too much credit.
Yeah, okay. You're right.
He didn't do it. Not because he didn't wanna, because he absolutely wants to smash.
Yeah.
He just didn't want it to be around.
He's like, not on videotape. Yeah, you know.
Exactly. He's like, not on videotape with all these guys watching me. But in a rare moment for him, he does go, oh no, this is not okay. Like, this can't happen.
This is too far. He even, Ryoki's like, this is a bit too far.
Yeah, he's like, I would never.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I would do it myself in my bedroom.
Yes.
With no cameras.
I'm allowed to rape her, but all of you are not.
And that's literally the plot. And I'm like, that's Hot Gimmick.
That's Hot Gimmick.
But he actually calls Azusa out, and Azusa has his goons, who are other models, which is so funny, hold him down while they go to, yeah, exactly, that was the downfall. They were like, it was like Zoolander, but like, it's so poorly executed. So like, they hold Ryoki down, and Ryoki's like, oh no. He's like, let me go. And she's like, help me, please stop. And Ryoki's like, oh no. So he grabs a pen, because he's a nerd. So he carries a pen in his pocket, and he threatens to stab one of the hot models in the face. He's like, you're a model. If I ruin your face, I ruin your career. And they're like, Azusa's like, you wouldn't dare. You're goody two shoes. You would never. And I'm like, who's the goody two shoes? Hatsumi? Because I know we ain't talking about Ryoki, because it ain't him.
Yeah, I was like, he would definitely stab your eyes out.
I was like, yeah, he would do a lot. I was like, you watched him push a girl down a flight of stairs.
Nobody's learning any lessons here. Like,
but Azusa's like, you wouldn't dare. You're too good for this. And Ryoki says, wanna bet? Stabs dude in the face. And he's like, guys, he's serious. Stop. He breaks free. He gets Hatsumi. Azusa's manager comes in and is like, what are you doing to that girl? Stop. I'm like, where were you 20 minutes ago? Whatever.
Yeah.
So she's saved from the assault by Ryoki. And Azusa gets no jail time, no repercussions, no nothing for this. Because why would he? Why does the author doesn't hold anybody accountable for anything in this series? And Ryoki takes her home, and then they're in the car. Again, Hatsumi has just been through a traumatic experience, and she is in a car with Ryoki, who has the emotional bandwidth of a toddler. And he immediately starts going in for the kiss. And then she's like reciprocating. And he's like, I wanna do you. And she's like, okay, you can. And I'm like,
no, wait. That moment actually was powerful, because she was like, fine, do it. That's what they were like. It's a very clearly a moment where she broke, right? It's like,
I'll give you that.
He broke, and she was like,
still agreed.
She was like, fine, they were going to do it to me. I'm a worthless piece of trash. What's the difference if you do it? And again, that's a moment for him where he's like, oh, I don't want to be associated like this, right? Like,
yeah, he had a moment. He had a growth moment.
Yeah,
he did. But he did try to kiss her right after.
No, I mean, he's still
only after that point, like you brought up, he was like,
he's still Ryoki.
He's like, maybe I shouldn't do that. He was like, maybe not right now. He's like, how about we just get you home? She's like, no, we should totally do it. He's like, I do want to do you. Because like after that, he's like, I do want to do you, but like I want to do it on my terms. He's like, how about we upgrade you from slave to girlfriend in training.
Yeah.
Because I think before this point, she had said the worst thing for the point, she had made the comment about the worst thing would be being his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So he offers girlfriend in training.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that she'll be more receptive to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the kickoff point for their relationship.
Yeah. So the reason that it's like it feels like the author wants to walk it back is because like Azusa after this takes like we get increasingly sad backstory about him, right? Like it's like his
affair, him running away.
Yeah, like the affair that killed his mom. He runs away and meets his current manager where he's like, hey, will you, like he's trying to be a prostitute basically actually when he meets her. And she's like, you're very pretty. Let's just make you a model instead that is slightly above prostitution, right? Like in terms of exploitation of your body, right? So like, it's just like we get a lot of reasons for why Azusa is this way. And I do actually really feel for him like in the apology. No. Hey, whoa. I know that's a ridiculous statement. Okay. I feel for him when he finally gets to talk to Hatsumi's dad, right? Who is the real person who did a terrible thing, supposedly, right?
I mean, in theory.
Right? Instead of like taking it out on Hatsumi, right? Like, so you know, they get to talk and the dad like gets down on his knees and is just like, I'm so sorry. And, you know, Azusa is like, damn it. I like basically executed my plan. And I got this man to sit.
Guilt.
Yeah. And I got this man to bow down to me and be on his knees. And it doesn't make me feel any better. And I was like, yes.
And he runs away on a hero's journey. It's literally what happens. He just disappears for months at a time.
It's just like, and I'm just like, I understand that feeling, you know, like terrible things happen. And actually there's really no way, there's no like making up for your mom dying, right? Like, yeah, like revive your mom, you know?
There's nothing he can do.
Right.
It's just, he's a child who has that, he's like Ryoki too. Like he's another child that's been neglected and doesn't have he went in the opposite direction. He got really social and to manipulate people, and Ryoki just further went into himself. But yeah. They're both kind of the same character. They just go about it differently.
Right.
Their manipulation.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, and it's actually really terrifying if they were one person. It would be imagine if Ryoki knew how to talk to people and charm them. Good God.
Oh God.
He'd be a monster.
An actual like serial rapist or something. Yeah.
He is a monster.
It would be terrible.
Oh my God, I cried.
Yeah.
I would weep.
Well, for me, the issue, like this incident, again, just feeling too much for the mangaka to actually, you know, handle. Mm-hmm. I was like, again, I went into it and I described it even here as like over the top. I'm like, this would never happen. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, hey, Ashley, remember how you have an example of this? Not directly with me related to this at all, but like I have an example, another hockey example of this basically kind of happening. And so this person is pretty famous, actually. I don't know him personally, so I'll name him, like whatever, you know. Right. So there was a hockey player at my college named Harry Zolderchuk. He became a professional hockey player in the NHL for my hometown team, which is the Philadelphia Flyers. But so when I was in college and I was a freshman, he actually was brought up on charges of voyeurism and distributing pornography of an underage girl. So he had to skip, you know, a year of hockey. But I think he only got charged for the voyeurism charges and not the actual distribution of pornography, which probably would have had, you know, more egregious charges. And, you know, this man like got off with very little consequence for that and became, you know, somebody who makes hundreds of thousands of dollars playing ice hockey, a child sport, right? And I'm like, okay, like videotaping people in the mid 2000s doing pornographic acts and getting away with very little consequence.
Which is why I'm glad that we're calling people out now. Yeah. It's delayed, but I'm glad that people are being called out. Because this is, it's unacceptable. Also, I don't think Hot Gimmick could have been written today. I don't think.
No, it would be different today.
I almost wonder what it would be like if it had been written now.
Ooh, don't tempt Miki
I mean, okay, I don't want her, right? I mean, just like going back and like changing things and just seeing how differently they would go about the story, because they've grown, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As a writer.
Yeah, I would hope so. Be like, how can I make this less,
less what I just did.
Yes,
like,
less this incident, less
there's gotta
less
be
no consequences, Yeah.
But that's one of the big ends of the series, and it's like that happens in the first half, and then of course
it happens in the first 25%. That's like volume 3.
I know, and there's more, and it just keeps
going from there. There are still 9 volumes after that. It's bananas. Okay.
Oh my god! But we saved the best for
we
last.
Did we saved the logical where we are at in the story for last, I guess. So let's quickly go over Shinogu, who it is very unclear to us at this point in the story what is truly happening. Are they related? Are they not? Pretty strongly sure they're not blood related, or at least not fully brother and sister. But still, his issue is that he's like, I have a crush on my sister. I have it pretty bad. He's making
crush. You said crush.
I said crush.
This man is lusting for his sister. He is in love with her. He wants no one but Hatsumi.
He made a pact with God to try to tone that down. And
he's a Hatsumi sexual. That's what he is.
Yes. And so he has conflicts with that because he grew up with Hatsumi, and that's just like taboo. There's a taboo there that he is struggling with, and but he's a sweet boy. Again, I really think that his arc, let alone his character design, are ripped straight out of a Clamp manga. Well, you don't seem positive on the Shinogu.
No, I'm not. I don't like Shinogu.
You don't like Shinogu?
Well, first and foremost, I am not a fan of Brokon. I have never been a fan of Brokon. Okay. I have 3 brothers, and never in my life have I gone,
you're like,
not once.
What a pretty boy.
Not
I
once.
don't know.
Never. They are hideous ogres, and they will stay that way for the rest of my natural life. Every time they get a girlfriend or something, I'm like, why?
You're like, how do you like this one?
Why would you date them? Like, I had a conversation with one of my brother's girlfriends, and I was like, I don't see how you could kiss that face. But like, neither here nor there. But like, I just don't like it I don't like it at all, because again, it feels weird. Weird. Even if they're, I mean, if they're step siblings, okay, non-blood related, I'll squint, I guess. It really comes down to like whether they were raised as siblings or not. Right. And in this particular case,
I was like, they were raised as siblings. Yeah, the squick comes from like, you've known her since she was a child, like existed, Yeah,
exactly. And like, they were raised as siblings. He watched her go through puberty.
Yeah,
which y'all can't see my face, but I have the heaviest of side eyes. And he's been in lust with her since that moment. And like, it's just gotten progressively more intense as he's gone through puberty.
Yes.
He's just been in love with her.
Yeah.
And like, I will give him credit. Yeah.
He's trying to remove himself from the situation.
He does suppress his feelings. He does treat her like a sister, and he never makes any moves on her that would be deemed romantic in nature.
Yeah.
However, his brain is free to roam and think as he sees fit. And he has thoughts.
You're not giving him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, he has thoughts, and I don't want those thoughts in my head. I don't even want to know what he's thinking. And
you're like, I don't want to think about his thoughts. Okay.
No, I don't even need his thoughts. But like, the issue with Shinogu is that Hatsumi sees him as her sweet older brother. She does not even harbor the whisper of romantic feelings for him. She has never considered him anything other than her brother.
As is right, yes.
Yeah, which is as it should be. And for her, he is a dependable older brother that she can go to when she, needs help, when she's sad. Also, he does not treat Akane the same way. Let's be clear.
No.
He only dotes on Hatsumi.
Yeah.
He does not give
And Akane picks up on that.
farts. Yeah, she absolutely does. And she calls him out on it several times.
Yeah.
But he doesn't give two farts about Akane. Not even a little bit.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always been that supportive person for her. And he's always there for her. And he's the one person that she feels comfortable talking to about a lot of things. Like, she doesn't feel comfortable talking with Akane about stuff. Well, she talks to her about a lot of things with Ryoki, but like not really. But with Shinogu, it's like he is her support system. He is that person for her. She can't go to her parents, but she can go to him.
Yeah.
And he'll understand and he'll be there for her. And it kind of undermines all of the good will in their relationship and all the good stuff that happens between them when you realize that he's in love with her.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff he does is because he's in love with her. Because like I said, he does not do the same with Akane. Akane could literally be about to get hit by a truck and he would let her get hit by that truck. He would get her afterwards, but he wouldn't go try to stop her. Hatsumi, he would jump in front of the truck. He'd push her out of the way and then jump in front of the truck. But neither here nor there. But like, he does not give the same energy to Akane. And it's like, it's not coming from a brotherly place. Like, nothing he does with Hatsumi feels like it comes from a brotherly place. Because if it was, he would do the same with Akane. And he doesn't. And that gives the ick factor to a lot of what he does. Because he comes out as this like, oh, I'm righteous. I'm better than Ryoki. I'm better than Azusa. I'm great. I will always be there for you. But when it comes down to it, he's doing it because he's in love with his sister. He's in love with Hatsumi. I'm going to stop calling her his sister because it makes me feel
You're like, now it's making it worse. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's in love with Hatsumi. And that's kind of the impetus for him to do a lot of what he does, for him to be that good person, that good big brother character. And there's another girl who's in love with Shinogu, and he kind of picks up on that obliviously, subconsciously, and he hangs out with her, and she thinks that she's gonna be with Shinogu, but then she finds out that Shinogu's in love with his sister, and then she's crying because she wants to be with him, but she realizes that's not gonna happen. In fact, she's the real MVP of this whole thing. I would have reported him, but that's fine. Whatever. But like, yeah, it just makes it icky, and like, I find it very hard to root for them. Like, again, you brought up they may not be blood related siblings. Let's be clear on the siblings part, because they could be blood related something else, but we don't know. So it makes this kind of whole thing weird too, because like they could be blood related, which no, thank you. But even if they're not blood related, it takes me back to they were raised as siblings. Hatsumi has only ever seen this man as a brother. He is her brother. Yeah. He's not a romantic partner.
He's not a sexual being.
Not a man. Yeah, he's not a sexual being. He's not a man in her eyes. He's her brother. And it just makes it feel ick and weird.
Yeah. I should also say that the incest warning was not just for this, but there's also an incident with Azusa where his cousin comes and is like, hey, it's okay for cousins to do it, and like forces him into a bad situation. So there like is a lot of like incest questions being thrown around here and explored. But yeah, so everything you said about Shinogu is fair, but I like in my heart, I'm not as like, because I know that it's doomed too, I guess, like it's not going to happen. I'm just like,
one can only hope.
I'm like, poor Shinogu, right now he's given me no reason to overtly hate him. I just feel I'm like, poor lost Shinogu's soul,
Shinogu, I guess the author wanted Shinogu to come off as this like tortured good guy kind of thing. Like he knows what he's doing is wrong, but like deep down, he's a good guy and he knows what he wants is wrong, and he'll make the right decision in the end. We're gonna talk about this more when we get to the second part, because like, what they do with Shinogu upset me.
If I remember, things really get wild.
I'd never read something that just made me go, that is the biggest stretch I have ever seen happen in a finale. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I laughed. I said, no, he did not.
No, he does not. Yes.
Did he really? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm remembering it and it's so
You're like,
dumb.
it's so dumb. All right. Well, that's a good teaser for like in our next episode. I really want us to rank the characters from like least horrible to most horrible when we know all of when everything shakes out, right? Like, I really want us to do that. But for now, I think we've established how hot garbagey Gimmick is. So you get to look forward to another episode about this. Okay.
Hot Gimmick. It needed to be 2 episodes because
it's just there's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Let's do this outro. Gosh. Thanks for listening to Shojo Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns. I was very pointed about all the C's this time. Need to tell us about how much you do or do not love Hot Gimmick? Email shojoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on the episode's YouTube page. We're at Shojo and Tell on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Tumblr. Naja, where can people find you and your work on the internet?
I am Blerdy Otome everywhere on the interwebs.
I love it. Blanket it.
Exactly. And that's BLERDYOTOME. But yeah, I'm most active on Twitter, Instagram. I refuse to call Twitter by its stripper name.
Yes.
I'm on Blue Sky as well. And did I say Instagram and Tumblr? Probably. I'm on there too.
You're like everywhere.
I have a Facebook. Yeah, I'm everywhere. And of course, there's my site, blerdyotome.com, where I put my written content and occasionally videos that I put on YouTube. I also put on the site, so find me on YouTube too. And Twitch. I'm Blerdy Otome on Twitch. How do I forget that?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like we're missing the big one.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of them. I'm Blerdy Otome everywhere. And if you find someone who is Blerdy Otome, but they're not me, let me know. I have to have a conversation.
You're like, this is copyright material.
Have a conversation.
Excellent. Are you excited every time you see a new episode from us? If so, please consider leaving a rating on Apple Podcasts. This will help the podcast reach more hearts, or at least ears. Thanks again for listening. As mentioned, we'll be back next time for the second half of Hot Gimmick. I mean, y'all like ranting to you for 4 hours about Hot Gimmick is why neurosurgeons prevented my brain from exploding. Isn't that's just how my life is going. To test if I could survive reading this a second time. I'm gonna make it, y'all. I'm gonna make it. All right. Well, stay tuned to find out if I do, but I'm pretty sure I will. Until then, bye.